let's get into the big topic of open source, something that we actually say at Red Hat.
This is so awesome.
We are an open culture that believes
It's actually
in
a big piece
importance
of
of
What is that process that a developer, or let's say
As the
developer
Kubernetes ecosystem really boomed,
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the Ask an OpenShift Expert live stream. Sully will eventually be back with us. He is unfortunately like one of the busiest dudes I know, and he keeps getting busier and busier as Summit gets closer and closer. So once I'm assuming once Summit ends, we'll have Sully back pretty much full time. But you never know, because he's a pretty important dude and he's getting a lot of stuff done. So this week's Ask an OpenShift Expert live stream is all about the user experience with ACS. There's a lot more going on. Like, we've had Peter on before, and Peter, welcome back, by the way. We've had Peter on before with the virtualization team, and we've done some stuff with the ACM and just a bunch of the different things that they're doing in the console to make your lives easier. So before we get started, the Ask an OpenShift Expert is part of the Red Hat Office Hours live stream series. Just like any college that you have a professor with office hours, we're here to answer your questions. So it can be, hopefully it's on topic, but if it's about OpenShift or Kubernetes or Red Hat, feel free to ask. We will do our best to answer the question. Obviously, any politically charged questions we're probably going to ignore or at least punt. But like, if you have anything related to the topic or OpenShift or Kubernetes, please feel free to ask, because we love your questions, and we love having these conversations, and we get to learn when you ask questions that we don't know. So with that, let's go over the top of mind. And there's not a whole lot. We do have some stuff on the schedule coming up. So we've got a group coming next week. They're going to talk about it's a AI framework, and they're going to come on and they're going to talk about that. It's going to be really awesome. And then the next week is Red Hat Summit week. And then I'm not sure what we're going to do the week after. We'll probably do a Summit recap. We'll probably do some virtualization stuff. I'm not really sure yet. Like, we're still trying to nail that down. But then once we start getting into June, we're going to have Isovalent come back. So if you remember, we had Dean Lewis come on a few months ago. He's going to come back and he's going to do some more networking conversations around OpenShift virtualization and migrating VMware workloads onto OpenShift virtualization, but from an Isovalent point of view. So that's pretty much our schedule in a nutshell. So with that, Peter, I'll kick it over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Cool. Yeah, well, thanks for having us back once again, Johnny. So I'm Peter Kreuzer. I'm the OpenShift UX team lead. So we represent the entire OpenShift experience. Any parts of OpenShift that you touch watching this, that's what we are accountable for. So it's great to be here. Mansur, I'll pass it over to you.
Hey, I'm Mansur. I am the ACS UX team lead, I guess. I work under OpenShift, and I work with advanced cluster security.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess
introduce yourself, Zhenpeng.
Yeah, my name is Zhenpeng C. I'm a UX designer on the Red Hat ACS team. I've been designing on the end-to-end workflows experience for both vulnerability reporting and new virtual machine vulnerability scanning workflows. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Cool. But yeah, so just to say a little bit more. So as I said, our team, Zhenpeng, Mansur, and I, we're on a group that represents all of OpenShift. We have people focused on the observability experience, virtualization experience, multi-cluster, which is our advanced cluster manager product. We're always looking at what's going to be next for Red Hat OpenShift. Lately, we've been very focused on, honestly, virtualization, I'll say, just based on what's going on in the marketplace there. Lots of effort has been going into easily moving into OpenShift virtualization, making sure that experience is straightforward, and also that the interfaces there are what you would expect. Multi-cluster, obviously, most people have more than one cluster, so we're trying to make sure that OpenShift is inherently multi-cluster. We have more plans there. Honestly, we're feeling through those right now. We'll probably be back with those topics in no time if you have us again, Johnny. But otherwise, security is always top of mind for everyone. So that's why we figured this week we'd bring Mansur and Zhenpeng from the ACS space to talk a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, nice. So, and one thing, Peter, before we get into all this, right? Like, the one thing that you've said quite a bit, like, and I'll put you out there, is that like you're looking for feedback, right? You're not looking for all the good stuff, right? Like, you're looking for the pain points and like this could be better, right? Like, you're not just looking for like, oh, hey, thanks a lot for what you're doing. you're really trying to find out what's making people mad so you can make it better, right?
100%. Thank you for saying
Cool.
that, Johnny. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you give us a pat on the back, that's great, but that doesn't like help us further improve the product. So as Johnny said, any feedback you give us on anything you see here today or anything else that you've experienced inside of OpenShift, we would love to hear it. Whether you leave it in chat or contact one of us, I'm sure you can find us online. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Cool. Well, maybe Mansur, I would pass it off to you if you want to get us introduced into ACS.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to get into ACS is to actually show you ACS. I noticed when I was actually trying to learn this a few years back, it was difficult to find good demos. So I'm going to start off with our staging instance and just show you exactly what it is. So when you install ACS, this is what you see. You're first landed into this dashboard, and this is giving you insights across multiple clusters. So ACS by default is a multi-cluster view. You're seeing security across all your clusters, and the first thing you see is all the policy violations you have, all the images, any deployments or workloads that you have that are high risk. And then from here, you can kind of drill down and see different areas. So one of the main topics of ACS are around policy violations and vulnerability management. And a little background there is what you can do is you can use ACS policies and create any type of policy you want to catch various security issues. And these things are running in real time to catch any issues and let you know, like, hey, you have this violation here, you have this thing here. And it'll send alerts. It'll send alerts to whatever you're connected to, and let you know what you can fix. The next thing I would say is vulnerability management, which is scanning continuously for any CVEs on your environment. And this is an area that we've worked on a lot. Together, these things help you understand like what to address. We also have a compliance section that works with the compliance operator. And you can see the compliance for your clusters across different checks. You can customize these checks. One of the things we're working on right now in this area is actually allowing you to use custom tailored profiles. So you should be able to use those profiles to also run checks against your clusters. We do have some areas of configuration management. This is an area that we're planning to work on relatively soon. So there will be some improvements in this. And I know from our metrics that people do access this area quite often. So we'll be working on making this experience better for you too. And last, I want to jump into this concept of risk. Risk is an area that we have received feedback, and this is kind of like a theme that we're thinking about right now. Risk basically takes all of the secret sauce of ACS, puts it together and puts it in a sort of priority. So you see this ranking of your workloads, and you can decide like, okay, in this demo server, mid server is priority number 2. So that's telling me that, okay, something here is adding up to, I need to address this right now. Today, we show you all the violations on that workload, any process executions, there's a ton of information here. But the reason I bring this up as the last point is the area that we're looking into is how can we make all this extra information more consumable by you? This is a UX challenge we're trying to solve. So that when you see this number, when you see this ranking, you don't have to dig through for hours and hours to figure out exactly what's going on. You'll be able to just get like a snapshot of this. So with that, I will jump off to Zhenpeng to kick off some of the slide decks.
Yeah, for sure,
Awesome.
Mansur.
There we go. Awesome. Looks good.
All right, I'll get started on the slide deck. And today, I guess we're going over the focus on a couple items in our agenda to let you guys know what's new in the 4.11 plan and the upcoming plan for the future releases. I guess our UX team has been working very hard to like make an impact on the updates based on what we've heard from our users. So we're excited to share those with you and get your feedback and answers. Here's the agenda today. Let me, okay. So our first agenda is to enhance filtering criteria for schedule report. Next, we have view-based report, which is the CSV export functionality with the enhanced filtering mechanisms. Also, with that being said, safe filtered is something that we are currently work in progress exploring for helping users to have their own view, like as a shortcut into VOM management. And also VOM management scannability for virtual machine is going to be available as a tech preview right now, but looking forward to target it in the 5.0 planning release. Lastly, we'll have Mansur to talk about dynamic plugging in ACS in the OpenShift console. All right, let's talk about the first agenda item here, enhance filtering criteria for schedule report. Our primary goal for this report was to bridge the gap between how users found vulnerability and how they report on them. We focus on bridging the full parity of filters from our reporting engine, from the main workflow of vulnerability reporting findings into the creation of the report, ensuring that the same granularity is available in your daily workflows and is now become very powerful in terms of automating a report. So that reinforcing the direction of our recent customer research highlighted exactly why this consistency matters. We have heard constantly that reporting needs to be easier to configure and more powerful. In recent research section, a customer pointed out that the previous reporting configuration filters were very confusing. However, like after reviewing the demo of our new design, they noted that the logic is now much more clear and more intuitive. Beyond just usabilities on that, we also validated the specific functionality of these filters. Another key insight that we got from our research was that criteria need for a customer label. A customer mentioned that, like, for their environment, the ability to add customer label to handle the situation where vulnerability that appears across a huge number of access and locations simultaneously is exactly what would make a schedule report look really like useful. In terms of using a design solution could be very useful on that case. That confirms that without these labels, report often require much of the manual work in terms of sorting things like that to be more effective. And this feedback has been helping us to moving forward to bring this same criteria filter functionality in terms of the report creation workflow. And it further ensures our users organize their vulnerabilities carries over automatically, cutting out the manual sorting and making the data immediately actionable. Here I have a screenshot here. I'm not sure if you all can see it. Basically, here's what the currently, like what we have in the UI is demonstrate of the report configuration. We have step 1 as configure report parameters. Those has been like for a while that like there are only a few filters right here, but when we jumping into the vulnerability finding in the result pages, like there are tons more like granularity that you can sort it through. Like if you look at the right side of the screenshot, that's what the after is like. We broken down into resources, which is the Kubernetes native resources, including cluster, namespace, and deployments that you can select it. And after that, jumping into step 3, we'll be having a parameters. Those parameters are exactly the parameters that we are available in the day-to-day vulnerability finding result pages. So in that way, user can navigate around those different type of criteria with the granular details on how do you build and configure the report to the one that they want to focus on the specific data that they need for that report. On the other hand, we do have validated need for seamless way to export the data directly from the page that we share with others from our customer point of view. Our research also shows that where a user needs to send a specific set of findings to another stakeholders, they need to export that respected report from their current view immediately. So we are addressing this by improving the fidelity of our CSV export, which is now called view-based report, available as a new feature, including additional columns that provide the full set of technical context required for remediation. This solution is called view-based report, as I mentioned, and we implemented a while back. And this ensures that when the user export the filter results, it outputs a high fidelity downloadable CSV file that matches the exact scope from the filter view that user tailored to. Here, I can also show you a demo of this. I'm going to share, switch to another screen to share a demo of the view-based report. Here from the result page, I think Mansur was already went through this screen, but from this screen, what we currently have is vulnerability reporting available under this corner, create a report. So you can tailor your own view and adjust those filters. Once you are happy with those filters, you can click the right corner, create a report, and click export as a CSV, meaning export a view-based report from this view using the filter that you've applied to. And then if I click generate, it will generate a CSV view-based report based on this view and the filter you've applied. Once complete, this report will be available in the view-based report section until it is purged according to your retention settings. Let's do it on a generate report for this demo. So it's been successfully generated. And if I click view status in the report table, so that is ready for you to download. And it's also having this feature of viewing the detail of this report as a preview. And then you can click ready to download. It will download it directly to the machine that you're running. Yeah, I will jump back to another screen that I was sharing. That was about view-based report.
So that's pretty cool. So you can dump out a file that you can share back to your security team, or you can, if you wanted to give them read-only access to this, you could do that too. But if you had to generate some report of all the nodes that have a certain CVE, or if you're trying to get like a certain count for a presentation or whatever, you could actually dump this out and use that as part of your presentation or as part of your documentation or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One interesting. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to jump in right here. One interesting use case that I've started experimenting with this is when you pull out this information as a CSV, for example, there's only so much you can do in the UI itself. But if there's some novel ideas, like with all the AI and agentic workflows coming through, if you wanted to try to play with the data another way to visualize your CVEs across your workloads, you could actually just, we're trying to improve so that you can get as much fidelity in those reports as you can. And then you could apply those to Cursor, Claude, or anything else, and have it remodel that data in a way that you can consume. Maybe even gain other insights that you wouldn't normally see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for adding the flavor on that. Next, I can jump back to my screen. in regards to the next slide we have over here, and which is safe filter, as I mentioned. While we mentioned about view-based report, how it works, and enhance fidelity of the criteria of those filters for a schedule report. And this is the concept that we have for safe filter to kind of like compile all those functionality all together. They're so powerful. And while these high fidelity exports solve the immediate need for data sharing, and we would also like to explore another way to have user to like save those filters in their view, so that they can come back as a shortcut or use it as a scope for their reporting without rebuilding with those like manual works. Here, to maximize the impact of these improvements, our research also highlights that safe filtered as a concept is a key driver for our team efficiency, rather than rebuilding the same complex lenses for every review. Customer wants to locked into the criteria as named reusable objects. This further ensures the team while consistency and allowed a user's strategy intent to persist across the platform. By making this configuration reusable, we are ensuring that users spend less time on setup and more times adding on high fidelity data they've identified. Next, here's the before and after workflow looks like, but I'm actually going to give a demo here. I'm going to share another screen to let you know the detail of it and how it works in our conceptual way in terms of that. Sure, I don't think this is the one that I'm sharing. Let's switch to another one.
Hey, jump in real quick before you do that. We got a question from rhope9, and he says, while I understand why reports focus on deployments and secured clusters, are there any plans to include images not currently in use, but you have already added into your integrated registry? So a lot of times what'll happen is you'll mirror an image into your registry, and maybe you haven't had an application that deployed it yet. And rhope9, correct me if I'm wrong here, or at least keep me honest. But like you'll pull images into your registry, and maybe you haven't had a deployment that's used that image yet. And so he's talking about those images that may not be, they might not be in like a runtime, but they're definitely sitting in your registry. Like, would those be scanned, and would those be part of the view?
That's a pretty good question. Like,
Actually, I want to add some flavor to that. I'm not sure if they're aware, but we do have an inactive images view, and that has the ability to export a report as a CSV. I can share that right now if you just want to take a look.
Yeah, let's see it.
Maybe this will solve your problem live. We'll see.
Yeah.
So we have user workloads, platforms, nodes, and then under here, we have images without CVEs. And I think what you're talking about is inactive images. So this is a list of all the images that ACS is seeing. And you should be able to pull a CSV, and these are not deployed. So this should capture what you're looking for. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So what registry does this point to, though? Is this pointing to?
It's whatever you have set up, actually.
Okay, so it's whatever cluster-wide registry you're using.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like in this stage,
yeah.
this is what we have.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I hope not. If you're, oh, sorry, dude. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so ACS is scanning everything, and then what you're seeing in this view is essentially everything we can see. So if we can see it here, if your image is showing up in this view, you should be able to pull it as a view-based report at least.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope not. If that's what you're talking about, let us know. Or if it's not, also let us know. Here we go. Maybe. There you go.
Zhenpeng, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, facing some technical problems. Okay, here we go. Here's the demo of the safe filter concept that we have and currently work in progress. When we are looking at the result of the vulnerability management, we will be landing on this view, or allow you to see lots of findings during the charging process. And with this filter criteria that is available to you, and you can navigate around with different filter sets and cluster, for example, and different namespace that you want to focus on in here. For example, I just pick a few of them for the demo purposes. It's also CVE, fixability, severity as well. So I've picked my filters, and this is the view that, like, for example, I really needed to focus on this view on a daily basis for this scope. This is the scope that I narrowed down, and I don't want to do it again next time. So I'm gonna save it as a new save filter, and I'm gonna put a name here, and then boom, it's now available and it's already applied. If I have another filter that's available, I can switch over to another filter as well. And I can also switch back to modify or update any of the filter criteria that is available in here. And once I click that, I can update my filters to shorten it into only viewing the critical and important. So the next available feature here I want to demo is that you can also manage those safe filters in terms of renaming them or delete them or drag up and down to navigate the priorities, or you can delete them. So in terms of the priorities list, and you can navigate drop up and down. So that's what it takes effect on this menu. And with this all like scopes that I narrowed it down, I can create my own scoped report that I needed, regardless you select a safe filter or not. And you can just basically, that's what a view-based report works the same way. You can narrow down the scope, and even without creating a safe filter, you can also create a schedule report based on those filters as the similar functionality where we have for export as a CSV from the view-based report. So let's try it. So I have automatic naming on here, and then jumping down to the second step where resources is already pulled from the preset value that you inputted from the filter criteria, cluster name and namespace that I wanted to focus on. And also parameters is the one that I was talking about in the view-based report that I mentioned. So severity, it perfectly capture everything that is pre-populated from that view. So everything is in here, and then like I want to click next to configure the delivery destination if needed. Basically, step 2 and 3 are the major changes in this workflow, and then you can review all the settings in here. Also, you can further filter out the area of concern. The recent added were you can select those images from the user workload platform or all vulnerable images based on that, and the vulnerability state that you wanted to focus on as well. That's about it, and then you can just review it if it's ready, and I'm going to create a report for that, and that's about the report that I just created. Yep. Not sure if any questions or comments are coming up there. Otherwise, I'll be jumping to the next slide deck.
Yep, you're good to go.
Actually, Zhenpeng, I do have a question. In response to rHope 9's question here, do you know if you select watched images that it will pull those images into those reports, like the inactive images?
Only when you select all images. Like basically what we use for configuration is that like we have the available drop down where we solidify from user workload between user workloads, platform, and all vulnerability images.
Okay. So in the area of concern dropdown, or I think not in the area of concern, but I think in one of your steps you showed under parameters, I think.
Let's find out. I think it's this one.
Under image type, actually.
Yeah, we have deployed and watched.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I guess this is what I mean. Like if you select them as watched images, I think that should automatically be able to send those reports. If it doesn't, please let us know.
Yeah. And he said he's adding them as watched images. So
okay, cool.
yeah. Or hope not. If you're doing this and it's not working, let us know, and we'll badger these guys and get them on it.
Yes, please. Okay. If no other questions, I'll switch back to my slide deck to walk through the next slide that we have. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Maybe I'm already sharing it. Okay, here you go. So in the next slide that I'm going to talk about vulnerability scanning for virtual machine. And this is something, as I mentioned, we already introduced a tech preview in 4.9 releases and currently in technology preview as well. Looking forward to target the release for GA in 5.0 release. So last quarter, we addressed the significant gap in the user experience regarding the vulnerability scanning for virtual machine. Currently, our user who manage the mix of workloads, both containers and virtual machines, faces a fragmented and inefficient workflow because these environments have historically been managed separately. Administrators are focused to switch between disconnected tools to identify security risks, which creates critical visibility gaps and operational friction. So to solve these problems, we integrated a VM guest operating system scanning directly into the Red Hat ACS interface, as you can see in this screen here. This feature, which we introduced in 4.9 release, utilized a lightweight agent called rhacs agent and VSOC protocol to index packages data from inside the virtual machine. This allows the system to perform vulnerability matching for virtual machines using the same engine and interface that we currently already rely on from their containerized workloads. By integrating vulnerability scanning for the virtual machine, we've simplified the experience from different stakeholders. For security teams, as an example, it means a single source of truth. Like when you're jumping into the workflow of vulnerability findings in our result pages, we have a dedicated tab for virtual machine, and you can look through the scanning results from there. And also they no longer have to jump between Red Hat ACS platform and the tools like Nexus or CrowdStrike to see the full picture. Our platform engineer, as another use cases from our customer call, now see virtual machines on OpenShift as a first-class citizen within the security platform they already manage, while compliance officers get unified reports from the entire estate. So ultimately, for organizations migrating from VMware, this ensures security continuity by providing a built-in scanning from day one. And looking ahead, that while this is currently in tech preview, hoping to target the GA in 5.0 releases. So I don't have a demo for this because this is currently under development in our planning. And as I said, looking forward to releasing the 5.0 plan. But I want to share that how we land on this project and why do we need this type of like project. And from how we drive this project from our initiative to the in planned work that we currently working on in progress. So really simply to drive this conversation that we're starting as intentionally, and then to collaborate with our stakeholders, and then to have the informed data by our customer to make a decision on that. So just wanted to highlight the UX process of how we went through that to ship this feature. So we didn't really approach it as a simple UI task. We implement a strategic problem-solving exercise. First, we were intentionally about the discovery. We make a consensus decision not to start with wireframe. Instead, we start with a fundamental question from the brief, like what do virtual machine admin actually do at the moment they receive the scan result. We built an individual framework where beyond the screen to cover end-to-end workflows, existing tool sets, and compliant requirements to ensure the integrity of this data. Recruitment was also a critical part. So we partner with the research team from our end to recruit the right participants to ensure that we only speaking with the exact personas who handle the VM security remediation and not just the VM provisioning process. So the next step is by bringing back those research outcome to our engineering team and the product team to help us to drive to the right decision. The next step, step 2, is that we establish a collaborative loop. This wasn't a one-shot research sprint. By maintaining an ongoing conversation program, including deep dive with our customers like UC Colorado Springs, we kept a constant pulse on the user needs. This research didn't live in a silo. It fed directly into our product strategy brief and engineering scope. So through the analysis, our field study data showing that we've identified a key insight that became the 61 static now users across all of the roadmap decks that justify these initiatives. And lastly, we move into more of a data-driven informed decision where the UX actually shaped our technical scope. So one of the significant findings from our research was that roughly 63% of the VM exits were surveyed are running the Windows. And this single insight changes our entire build versus partner calculus. Instead of spending immense engineering resources to build window scanning in-house, our research supported this strategy pivot to pursue a partner with CrowdStrike. So our decision wasn't just informed by a snapshot in time; it was built on the ongoing relationship, as you can tell, like from this free process. And currently, here are some of the feedback snapshot in quote that we have, like, for example, first, the demand of a single pane of glass is overwhelming. Second, we realized the real gap in the remediation workflows. And finally, this data shape our roadmaps. So ultimately, these insights ensures that we not just building a feature, but we're solving the actual problems in terms of like operational hurdles that our customer face in a daily basis. Is there any questions or comments on here?
I think, without sounding like a broken record, I think it's awesome that this is finally here, because as OpenShift virtualization was gaining traction and stuff like that, and then we have OPP that we're pushing really hard, and then if you don't know OPP, you get ACS and ACM and ODF. You get, it's like OpenShift and friends. But like with ACS, you were kind of limited because it's like you can do runtime scanning, you can do container scanning, but then you were just kind of stuck if you had virtual machines, and like there was no real way to monitor. So having that ability now to monitor all of your infrastructure in one spot without having to have all of your OpenShift and friends and another friend, like a third party scanning tool, just so you could do VMs. It was crazy. So it's about time. I'm glad that we're doing it. I was curious how they were going to do the monitoring, and it's a question, and I don't know if you guys can answer it or not, but like with the rhacs agent, how does that get installed? Do you install that like once you install ACS, or is it like you install ACS, your VM, you have OpenShift virtualization, and because you're part of this, is it part of the tools installation on the virtual machine, or is it like a manual thing that I say manual, like you could use Chocolatey or whatever if you're doing Windows, or you could do DNF or whatever. But like how do you get the rhacs agent on the machine for it to install? Do you guys know?
I don't have visibility into that actual process. I don't know, Zhenpeng,
Okay.
if you're part of those discussions, but if to put it simply, it should be documented. Typically, this should be something that's probably automatic. So
yeah, I would think, or
can't
part of the tools or something like that. Yeah. And this wasn't meant to be a stump the chump or anything like that. I was just, as I'm thinking about this, I'm just trying to figure out like how do you get the agent on there? Is it? I'm assuming that you have to install it somehow, right? Like you either have to download it and put it in your automation, or something. Maybe it's some tools package that you can install at runtime. I don't know.
I will answer it this way. If it turns out that our solution is something that could be improved upon, please reach out to UX, because this is one of the areas that we're trying to continuously improve in ACS. Is how can we get it so that the installation process is simplified? Like in the dream scenario, you just click it and everything works.
Yeah.
And we're continuously trying to get to that point. One other thing I wanted to add regarding virtualization is it is on our roadmap to also extend reporting to node vulnerabilities and virtualization. So that's something we're hoping to work on soon, actually.
Nice. So is like when you guys are looking at this, is there any way? I feel like I'm asking the wrong. I feel like I have questions, but I feel like I'm asking the wrong team right now. So it's like I'm more like thinking of like a GitOps focus, right? How could I, if I wanted to like trigger a rollout or something like that, or not so much a rollout, but like, hey, maybe I want to have some resource action that says within GitOps, right? Like within my UI, I say, hey, on my application, I have a resource action. I say, go get all the, go get me all the vulnerability, all the images that have vulnerabilities, and I just click a button, and then it dumps it out. And I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like from a GitOps perspective, how this could work. But I feel like that's probably too far downstream.
I mean, primarily we're talking about the UI here, but there are API methods to get this information, and this is something where like the future of ACS is kind of headed towards. It's like, how can we enable those types of workflows more? And I think with some of the experiments we've done with like using agents and like connecting ACS to other tools, you might actually be able to get these things running today.
Okay.
But it's kind of like it's do at your own risk sort of thing.
Yeah. Mileage may vary, right?
but it is a very entertaining area to experiment in.
Yeah, I remember back in the day I was messing with some policy things, and like it was all in the URL encoding, like the way that you had to update the policies, and like that I remember was just the worst, because you had to have like you had to have like the %20 or whatever. I don't even know. I can't remember anymore. But like you had to have like the weird URL breaks in there, or the HTTP encoding breaks. It was super weird.
Yeah, I think this is like just to kind of harp on my topic of feedback. Our team, like, and kind of like adding to what Zhenpeng was talking about regarding the process, a lot of times as features come in, they're coming in through customer like RFEs, but sometimes things are discovered just through our own, like UX will go through the product and we'll kind of discover areas that we could improve as well.
Mm-hmm.
UXR from that level is also doing research at the OpenShift level, where we can kind of get those findings trickled down to us. So for example, how does ACS work with other areas? How do OCP users kind of see ACS, and where are areas that they can kind of interact with? So the more feedback we get from the UX side, we can solve these problems agnostically, essentially, because we're trying to essentially make security more and more of an integrated part of the entire ecosystem. And to do that, we need to simplify a lot of these areas that we see. For example, some of the use cases you brought up. You know, maybe that's not something we heard from an RFE. Maybe that's something we hear in this venue.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, and like our Hope and I, we were talking about it in chat, where like the installation of ACS has gotten so easy. Like it really is easier. Setting up central is fine. Getting the secured cluster is up. It's not as like cumbersome as it used to be. And even our Hope 9 was saying that like it's the biggest part now is just like understanding like how do you use the interface, like how and Peter, I think we were kind of talking about this before with the multi-cluster stuff, right? Like not having to jump between so many contexts. Yeah, like when you can stay within a context and you can kind of like you can drill down without having to go back up to like the administrator view versus the user view versus like the fleet management. You know what I mean? Like you could just kind of stay in a context and drill down and then easily kind of get back up to like the top level. That's where ACS. I feel like that's where you guys are going, just the way it looks. Because if you can drill down on a context and stay within, you know, like a context without having to bounce around to different menus and stuff like that, I feel like that's gonna be the game changer.
Yeah, I think that this is generally like the guiding philosophy that we're trying to strive towards. I guess if you want to see a little bit about how the actual reality of things is that to get to this place, like ACS historically, we were acquired. Originally we were StackRox. And through the acquisition, there's a lot of like back-end code-based changes that need to happen in order to get this there. And this is something we've been actively trying to like chip away towards. So I would say right now, like a lot of the things we're working on is improving like the access to that raw data. But the next step is essentially doing what you're saying is like, how can we kind of distill this into information that's within context that you're already in? So you don't have to like jump between views. And I think this is it's basically a segue into the dynamic plugin discussion that we're about to get into.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, I'm jumping ahead. I'm a pain in the butt in case you haven't realized that. Like I'm just all over the place. So
no, it's all good. It worked out. All right. So on that note, I will share my screen actually.
Oh, I think Zhenpeng was sharing his.
Zhenpeng, you still have it. Okay, go ahead, Zhenpeng. You can drive this one. So a little bit of background that we already talked about. The ACS has typically always lived in its own console. So we call it Central internally, but you know, you'd log into Central, see all your security insights. You'd have to then log into OCP to see things if you're at the platform level. Essentially, you're constantly context switching to get information back and forth. And one of the problems we wanted to solve is essentially, how do we get that information in a place that you don't have to jump out to see it? So this is where we started working with the dynamic plugin. This basically allows you to see vulnerability information within the OCP console under the security tab. Now, this is kind of like our first step here. So like this is the first of many. Right now, what you're able to see is you're able to see workload vulnerabilities under that tab. You're also able to see that security context for each workload that you have under the workloads tab. So I can actually show you that live here. So I'm gonna share this.
Bam. Yep, we see it.
Now you're in OCP. So if you click here, whatever your OCP permissions are, if you have ACS installed and that cluster is secured by ACS, you'll automatically get ACS information here. So you could use the same filtering that we have. You could, you know, look up CVEs by image. This is also a new thing. We're adding like the image context to security in OCP. You can see your workloads. Say, for example, I wanted to see, you know, what's on this ad service thing. What actually happened here is it actually jumped to the workloads deployment section. So maybe I'm just working through here and not even thinking about security. I can just go here, click on any deployment, and then see that security context within this view. So I don't have to.
Nice.
Yeah, it's bringing it in more, and this is only the first step. So like we had to go through like there's a lot of discussions between like product engineering. We were trying to collaborate with other teams, the OCP team, to just better understand like what are the limits of what we can do here. But the goal is that right now we're showing you raw data here. Eventually, we want to get to the point where when you look at a workload, it's going to tell you like which workload is the most, like that risk view that I talked about in the beginning. That's the type of context we want here. We don't want you to sift through hundreds of CVEs all the time. We want to give you the ability to look there if you want to. But if you're looking at a list, right, if you have, thousands of vulnerabilities, some people we've seen in test environments and some environments that we have access to, they'll have like 500,000 violations, 700,000 violations. At some point, that is just noise. So how can we go away from that noise and give you the smallest like tidbit of information that you can look at this list, for example, and say, I need to fix this one. And then have enough security context there within the workflows you're already familiar with, so you can make those kinds of decisions and address what you need to, without having to be like a full-fledged SecOps person and actually go into ACS and drill down that way, which you can actually if you wanted to, but you shouldn't have to. The other benefit of this, go ahead.
I was going to ask, can you go back to your ad service deployment really quick? I'm just curious. I feel like I saw it, but then I missed it. Yeah, just click on the deployment name and then go over to the security tab. Okay, so it was for the whole deployment. Okay.
Yep.
Dope. That's cool.
So it's
okay,
giving
that's it. I just wanted to see that.
Yeah, so the other thing I was going to say is, so on that SecOps persona, so if you have somebody on your team that's dedicated for this and they're using ACS as the tool to manage the security, one of the feedbacks we got, because throughout our process, we were trying to talk to customers, figure out like, what exactly are they hoping to get out of this view? One of the important feedbacks we got here was one of the SecOps people that we interviewed said something along the lines of, typically my process is I'll find all the vulnerabilities for a person or for a team, and then I'll send them that export. And then it's unfortunately up to them to just badger that person to update those images or update the workloads that are vulnerable. And this actually might help drive that conversation because they can see that information now. There's no second step for that other person to have to log into ACS to see that, or to sift through like this, giant list of rows in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. They could just say, hey, look at your workloads under the security tab. You've got a couple of criticals there. The friction is reduced. And that is one of our other like hot topic words, is trying to reduce friction between workflows, between teams, so that security is something that's just part of your process.
Yeah, no, I dig it.
So I think jumping back to the I'll just take over the slides here. So the next thing I actually, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No. I was just making sure I got out of the way. It didn't like disable the screen share. That's all.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about is something that is relatively new. And this is also an example of a process like this. This is a request that came in from one of our customers. So this is the benefit of continuously talking to us, is that we're listening. We're really looking for this kind of information. And one of our customers said, like, we're currently using a tool that allows us to detect file activity. And it tells us this information, but it's missing certain context. We want these other features added in. And is there anything that ACS can do to help us with this? So this is where we started working on this file activity monitoring process. This is completely new. So essentially, typically in ACS, when you build policies, we only look at like deployments and images. And this basically allows you to look at the node as well. And what this is doing is essentially you're able to build a policy to say, like, look at these files at this node level. And if anything in real time touches those files, let me know. So the policy is just sitting on ACS. You can build these policies and monitor all the files that are being, adjusted. Say, for example, you have some sort of a sensitive document on that node, and you only want authorized people to use it or authorized processes. If something happens, it'll let you know in a violation. So essentially, jumping back here, you can actually build a file activity monitoring policy. You could choose, I wanted this policy to scan nodes. Choose the file paths wherever on that node that you have those policies. You can add other types of criteria to that policy. And then once you actually have that policy running, if you were to go under the violations tab and then click nodes, these are all the violations you have. So this is running live, and it's catching, like on this cluster, on this deployment, this thing was accessed by this process. It's going to give you all that information here. And then it's going to send these alerts to your team as it happens. So say there's a malicious actor in your environment and they've somehow gotten access to this password file. You'll know immediately that this happened. And you can lock that down, or you can investigate what's going on there. You can also do this in a deployment context. This is something that we're building out. So you can build those policies to look for file activity on deployments, and they would show up under your workload section as well. So this is a new thing that we're working on.
That's awesome. So do you intend to ever have this bit over in the console plugin?
So yes, and this is one of those things that's in the roadmap. So we do want to add violations context. So any policy violations, we've actually gotten RFEs for some people who wanted to be able to look at the topology view in the console and see okay, which workload has the most is the most risky based off the violations.
Mm-hmm.
So the conversation there though is what is more useful? Is it useful to see it that information just as a number count, or is it more useful to see the relative risk of that workload compared to other workloads? I think the answer is, in reality, it's both. You want to be able to drill down if you need to, but you also want to be able to see this glanceable view. If you see 1,000 deployments,
yeah,
you don't want to be overwhelmed there. So that's something we're trying to balance out. And I believe that actually takes us to the end of our slide deck.
Nice.
I guess I'll acknowledge, I did see in chat there, our Hope 9 mentioned the Persis dashboard. I guess I figured I'd just mention quickly that that's something we've been focused on with our cluster observability operator, is making use of Persis dashboard. I'm not sure if that's what you were referring to, our Hope 9, but we're working on adding more customizability to our dashboards. Currently, they're mostly predefined, so you have to use what's there for you today. Whereas with Persis, we'll have the opportunity to build out what metrics you want to see on a dashboard. So that's one of the reasons we're making use of Persis. So I just want to mention that.
Nice. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
I can actually drop in another plug there. ACS also is supporting Prometheus metrics. So if you do set up a Prometheus server and then have ACS kind of output that information, you could build Persis dashboards using ACS data as well.
Nice. Yeah, if you have a guide, I know we'd love to do it. Or if you want to come back on and do a demo of configuring dynamic dashboards with Prometheus data and Persis dashboards.
I mean, I was going to say before we left today, we need to figure out what's next, and so maybe that's it right there. Honestly, there's a lot going on in the observability space, which I'm lumping the customizable person's dashboard. So that might be a logical next topic for the next time around here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Because I know, I mean, our Hope 9 has been big on the observability piece for a while, but it's just a big topic, and it's something it's pretty popular, along with like virtualization and storage and networking and stuff like that. So, and obviously security. Like it's all there's all these hot button items. As Sully likes to say, like OpenShift is a fractal. As soon as you think you've got something, like you can go 8 different directions and learn something new, or be on some different topics. So, yeah. So, and that was the one that our Hope 9 was talking about. And by the way, our Hope 9, I did reach out to the team. I actually did reach out to them and asked them if there was a public resource for the Prometheus things, and I got nothing back. So I will go back and see if I can't rehash that. I even opened up a ticket within their Slack to try and get traction on it. So I'll go back and see if I can actually uncork this somehow. But yeah, Peter, Zhenpeng, Mansur, really appreciate you guys coming on. I'll give you a minute if there's anything that you guys want to close out with, or if any last remarks that you want to make before we start shutting the stream down. Yeah, now's the time.
Mansur, anything you want to close out with ACS?
I think the main thing is, first of all, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us on. And second, active users like our Hope 9 that are kind of like asking questions and asking things like this. Like to be honest, specifically, I'd like to understand why you love Prometheus and kind of like the ways you're using it. From a UX perspective, it's good for me to know, just to see like areas where we could even expand ACS. So hey, please reach out.
Well, I'll make that connection. I've got his email. I'll make that connection back to you, Mansur.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, and I guess the last thing I have to say is just like the various topics that we've covered here. Jonny, you named a couple of them. Like that is all under this team's purview. So our role is really trying to make sure that the experiences between those areas like make sense. I guess like honestly, the VM scanning is like a perfect example of that. Like as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, you highlighted it, Jonny. We have a lot of people coming into OpenShift virtualization that want to run their VMs right next to their containers. So that's an example of like a feature that we can help design to try to make that as easy as possible. So we're happy to do that work, and we'll be back soon with more to show, maybe around the observability space. Yeah,
no, it looks good, and honestly, like we we're talking about before, with keeping it within the context, like, and you're not jumping around, going from like the user role to the administrator role and stuff like that. That was, to me, I'm like that's killer, because when you have to jump around, it's just you forget where you're at. It gets messy. ACS, not bashing ACS or anything like that, but it's very menu driven, and like you have to jump around quite a bit to get to different areas. So having the ability to just drill down and expand within a context is very nice. I can very much see this inside the virtualization window, where you go and you click on a VM, then you click on security, and then you start drilling down into these things that are important to you from a security perspective. Like it just makes sense. No, and I appreciate it. Peter. You've always got an open seat here. Like, we've had you on a few times. We've been friends for a while now. I want so bad to share the video that you shared on LinkedIn about the bike. If you guys don't know, Peter's got the baddest bike in town. It's a huge triple seater, and it's dope. I love this thing, and ever since I met Peter, he told me about it, and I've just been like a huge fan of this bike. So it's awesome. So hit me up. I'll share the picture.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just digging up the link right now to see if I can put it in chat.
Oh yeah, here we go. Let me share that. I'll share the link to it.
Yeah, I was riding to work this morning, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be on this stream. I gotta get this video of this bike for Jonny.
Yeah, I love this thing. It's like it blows my mind, and like we said before, like it's just been one of those things where it's like I would have never thought to do this, and yeah, it would have been awesome to have. Especially when my kids were little and still fun. Now they're old and mean and terrible. So
my kids enjoy it for the time being. It's a good way to start and end the day, I guess I'll say, is hopping on that thing with them and riding around a little bit.
Yeah, getting your cruise on. It's pretty awesome. All right, well, awesome. Yeah, Peter, again, anytime if you had another topic that you want to talk about, if there's something that you guys want to show off, yeah, you've always got a seat here. You've always got a spot. So just let me know when and where, and we'll make it happen. Mansur, thank you very much for coming on, and Zhenpeng, thanks for coming on. Really, it's never easy doing these things, like trying to be on a live stream, and you never know how it's going to be. But yeah, I think you guys did awesome. The demo was awesome, and I really appreciate your time. To the viewers, again, next week we have it's actually our Orchestra AI is the team that's going to come on. I actually met these guys at KubeCon Amsterdam, and yeah, they're going to come on. They're going to talk about their AI platform. It's going to be pretty cool. The week after is Summit, and then again the week after that, May 20th-ish timeframe. We are going to try, and we'll probably either do a Summit recap, or we'll do some Vert, we'll do some storage, we might do some installation stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I'll post it on LinkedIn. I'll keep everybody up to date. Till then, we'll see you later. Thanks again, guys, for coming on.
Thank you.